worry.
Okay. Best Stolen Valor Fights 2018.
Ego Momo. Mommy, I'm worried.
Yeah, you can't wear your uniform to do fundraising.
I want
You can't use your uniform. You can't wear your uniform for political protests, anything political, or fundraising, unless it's a military fundraiser.
I want pictures.
No. Judge Advocate General's lawyer.
Mommy, one picture.
If he's saying so was my father and not him, that means that's the other co-founder of Black Arts Coffee Company. He was in the movie, the one who got his dick pulled off by the zombie.
Baby shark. Baby shark. I want to join baby shark.
No, stop.
Baby shark.
Yeah, he is.
Stop it.
I'm jelly baby shark.
No.
Oh.
That's a crime of itself, is using your veteran status to do stuff like that. But they're not, so it's stolen valor. Those aren't technically BDUs. BDUs are the ones that I wore when I was in. The brown, green.
Those ones?
Yeah. After that came ACUs, ICUs, all that stuff. Those are not BDUs. Which makes me kind of question the guy who's saying he's a Marine, because he would know at this point that those aren't called BDUs.
Mommy, hold my hand.
That is a Navy uniform. He is not old enough to. Here's another thing.
He looks really young.
The sleeves, you can't have it looking like that. When you roll your sleeves up, it has to be the opposite. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The inside can't show. It has to be the outside. I know that doesn't make sense. But
I know what you mean.
I think the Marines can show the inside of their uniform, but I'm not sure. I know for a fact that the Army can, the Navy can't. He doesn't have a cover, so it's not that the cover isn't in regulation. He doesn't fucking have one.
I want a picture. Mommy.
See, now what happens if someone asks me for my VA card?
Mommy.
You can just pull it inside of your wallet.
You pull it out. You say, see? I am a veteran. Or I am in the military. It's not that hard. But you can be 17 and enlist, so his age doesn't have anything to do with it.
Toy.
But it's obvious that he's stealing valor. Also, the undershirts. The undershirts are... Hush! The undershirts are a different color for every branch.
That's it.
The Army, back when we wore those uniforms, the Army wore brown t-shirts. The Air Force wore black. The Marines wore green. And I can't remember what color the Navy was.
I know Chris got in, took an oath last school year, I think. And I'm not sure, I can't remember what he did, but he's joining, so.
It doesn't matter to me. I took my second oath September 2nd, 1999.
Bye, one more kid.
Yeah, your pants can't go over your boots. That's why we call this thing called boot blousers.
Little green camis and snip. Remember we used to have them, and then that just disappeared.
Because they kept snapping me and untwisting. They're really cheap at the PX or the BX. They're like 30 cents. I wish I could zoom in. Probably before he was born. I served before he was born! Okay, so a DD-214. DD is Department of Defense. That is your, I don't remember the exact term, but I'll show you my 214 a little bit.
No,
It's the,
no.
Stop, just give it to him. You can get some more. It's the paper that when you get out of the military, it tells everything you did, all the places, by places I mean like your units, all your awards, your job, how long you were in, all that stuff. At the bottom it tells whether you got an honorable, dishonorable, other than honorable discharge. Mm-hmm. If you have gotten out of the military, your 214 is the most important thing ever. It proves that you had military service. ETS is estimated time of
Estimated service time?
ETS. It's when you got out. Like, oh, I ETS in 2 months. That means I get out in 2 months.
I thought I said EST.
ETS. You will learn that the military is nothing but fucking anagrams and abbreviations. Okay, real quick.
The red. What the fuck?
Okay, so let me pause this better. Actually, let me go back. So, right there, that tab, it's called a tab. It says Ranger. Here's the thing. Just like that one, above your patch, you can have an airborne patch, mountain, pathfinder, ranger, whatever. If you've earned it, you get that little tab. Now, you can be in a unit like 101st. That's the 101st Airborne. And you can have a tab. You don't have to have a... Fuck, let's start this over. The tab says what you've done. So to be a ranger, he has to have a ranger patch. He doesn't even have a fucking patch to begin with. So that doesn't necessarily mean he's not a ranger. He doesn't have a patch, so he doesn't have a unit. Like, so anyway, a lot of people will look up ranger and it'll show that tab. So they think that that's all they need to show that they're a ranger. But you also need to have a patch from a unit you were in. Like, okay, so when I was a part of that unit, I wasn't in an... I was in 101st Air Assault Replacement Detachment. I was there just to train to do air assault, which is rappelling out of helicopters. Airborne is jumping out of planes because they're stupid. And I'm not. Plus only about 5%, I could be wrong on this. I think it's like 1 to 5% of people who apply for Ranger School actually graduate. He is not a Ranger.
He's turtleneck and the red on his. And his button's fucked up.
Okay, so I can't see what those are. But what Homeboy's about to say is right. If you win it, anyway. Okay, so let me explain it. So he's saying he did 3 tours of duty, and that's why he has 3 of those, and I can't actually see what they are. A campaign would be like Operation Desert Storm, Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation whatever. Those are, you can do 5 tours in Afghanistan or 5 tours in Iraq. You don't just keep getting shit each time you go. That's one thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Iraqi freedom.
Okay.
Now, his rank, that is where the rank goes on this particular uniform. Without a rocker, stop. That is a staff sergeant. If it had a rocker underneath it, it would be sergeant first class. He doesn't have any patches, and you can't give your patches away.
No.
Your patches are part of your uniform.
It's like a peaches.
He doesn't have shoes on.
And his pants is ripped.
Yeah. He doesn't have shoes on at all. Okay, so your MOS is your military occupational specialty, your job. He said he's an 11 Bravo, which is a job. 11 Bravo is infantry. Now, this is one of those weird technical things. Everybody in the Army is an 11 Bravo. By that I mean everyone's first job is to be a soldier. But everyone has their own MOS. Mine was 95 Bravo and then 93 Papa, which I believe aren't the codes for those anymore. Or something's changed in MOSs, so those aren't active anymore. Stop!
If I went in as a forensic investigator, my MOS would be forensic investigator?
No, it would be a number and then a letter. 2 numbers and a letter. Females can't be 11 Bravos, though. Does that make sense? Our first job is to be a soldier, but we can't be 11 Bravo. 11 Bravo is infantry. Okay. I couldn't tell you how many different basic trainings there are in the Army, because unlike the Navy, the Marines, and the Air Force, we have a bunch. But each place you go to for basic does different things. Meaning, Fort Jackson, it's nicknamed Relaxin' Jackson. All Army installations have nicknames. Fort Jackson is called Relaxin' Jackson because it's really, really easy. I went to Fort Leonard Wood, or also known as Fort Lost in the Woods, because it's literally in the middle of the fucking woods. Hours away from fucking anything. But 11 Bravos don't train at Fort Jackson. Okay? So Fort Leonard Wood, where I went, trains chemical, engineering, and military police. Fort Jackson, I have no idea what they train there, because I didn't go there. And I only know a handful of people who went there. Fort Benning and Fort Bragg are the top-notch installations. That's where soldiers train.
Major pain.
Yeah. No way an 11 Bravo. Oh, no way a Ranger is at Jackson. Okay, so drivers, their MOS, now you have to remember all my knowledge is based on before these things change. So a driver's MOS is 88 Mike. They don't. Now, homeboy, the only thing I have a problem with the guy who's actually in the military, when he answered the phone, Staff Sergeant, he could be saying me, like, hey, it's Staff Sergeant. That happens.
Yeah. Get out.
Another thing he says, why would a Staff Sergeant be calling another Staff Sergeant Staff Sergeant? That happens too. That's not something that.
Get out.
That's proving that. So obviously he's stealing Valor. I'm not discrediting that, but that does happen. When I used to answer the phone at Tough Guard, I'd say Captain Redmond.
Yeah, hi.
That's common. Now the Army's the only branch that does this, but we call our sergeants and staff sergeants. We call them all sergeants. You can say, "Hey, Staff Sergeant Redmond," but chances are you're just gonna say Sergeant Redmond. Get over there. Okay, so what he was saying, you and your sergeant major are shopping together. There's a thing called fraternization. That doesn't necessarily mean sexually Stop! Get away from there now.
My ball.
You can't get the ball and go. You can't have a romantic relationship. Okay, so there's enlisted. Okay, E1 through E4. The Army has 2 different ranks for E4s, specialist and corporal. NCOs are E5. And NCOs and senior NCOs are E5 and up as far as enlisted, not officers. So enlisted and NCOs can't have a relationship. NCOs and officers can't have a relationship. Officers and enlisted can't have a relationship. And that means platonic and romantic. So a staff sergeant and a sergeant major can just go hanging out, bowling, chilling. Okay. Shit.
I got you. I got you. You don't want mommy his house.
Okay, so there are 2 places that the Marines train at. Paris Island and MCRD San Diego. MCRD means Marine Corps Recruit Depot. Those are the only 2 places that they go to their basic training at. Some people call the Marines who train in San Diego Hollywood Marines because Paris Island is the oldest and, you know, the most common. That's it, no more.
You're in the trash in the bowl.
I'm not bashing any branch's basic training. Marine Corps Boot Camp, I don't know what they call it. I know MCT, Marine Corps Combat Training, I don't know what it's called.
My ball in the trash.
They have the hardest training, regardless if they go to San Diego or Paris Island. For instance, when I left the Navy and went to the Army, I had to go back to basic because the Army's training is a little bit more in depth and harder than the Navy's. If you go from Air Force to any branch, you have to go back through training. If you go Navy to another branch, except if you go into the Air Force, you have to go back through training. If you go into the Army to the Marines, you have to go through training. But if you go Army into the Air Force or the Navy, you don't. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Coast Guard and the new Space, I don't know shit about Space Force, so I'm not going to try to do. Take that from him. Get over here now. Anyway, so him saying the San Diego, MCRD San Diego are called Hollywood Marines. Because, what? Because it's in California, A, and people only see California as Hollywood. Apparently it's only Hollywood and the Mexican border, it's all there is. But some say, and I can't say this for a fact because I haven't been to either place, but some say it's a little bit easier than Paris Island. I don't know. They're both crappy and hard. So I wasn't.
I can't get down. Fine, then I gotta get down.
If you're gonna pretend like you were in a branch of the military, you should probably learn just a little bit about that branch.
Do your research.
Okay, so here's another thing. over the years, not the logos, the what do you call it? The slogan of each branch changes. At one point, the Army was "Be All You Can Be," and that's what it was when I enlisted. And then it was Army of One, and then Army Strong. The Marines were the few, the proud, the Marines. The Navy was "Let Your Journey Begin." I can't remember what it was after that. The Air Force used to be Air, Space, and Cyberspace, or some shit like that. And the Air Force used to have, I can't remember any of the Air Forces. We can Google it, though. But he's asking him what's the slogan of the Marines. They have a, I don't know if it would be a slogan or not. I don't know. But their battle cry, their slogan, whatever it is Semper Fidelis, always faithful.
Yeah.
Semper Fi.
Yeah, we have to learn that for us. If we're on competition, we have to learn every branch's motto.
Motto! That's the word I was looking for.
Their motto, their fight song, their mascots, everything about
the
them.
song that you guys had at your Veterans Day parade, the Army song, that was the Army song. I'm not saying it wasn't the Army song, but it was an extremely old version of the Army song, where there's one word that's been changed over the decades. So, although I could sing along with it while it was during that program, that one word was just really weird to me because we haven't used that word since Vietnam. Now, I did have to learn the Marine song when I was in elementary school, only because I used to volunteer to come to West Home, and that's the song that they wanted us to sing to them. That's the only reason why I know that song. You don't have to learn that in the military. Anyway, you don't have to learn the other branches' songs and mottos and slogans and all that shit. Every unit has their own slogan and stuff. Like, I had a unit, the 1st and 13th Aviation Regiment. Ours was Swift and Deadly. Like our unit motto or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Inside your unit, you'll have a mascot. I don't remember any of mine, to be perfectly honest. Yes, I do. Hellhounds. One of them was Hellhounds. 795th MP Battalion. Called Hellhounds. I don't remember anybody else's, though. And I don't remember anybody's motto except 1st and the 13th. And I don't really understand why I don't remember all that other shit. But there's a lot of acronyms I don't remember what they stand for.
I forgot our mascot's name. But I know
it's really easy to forget small stuff. When you're in that unit, all that shit, you know what, to be perfectly honest, the entire time I was in the military, Navy and Army, I thought I would never forget this stuff because it's been drilled into my head. And I don't mean brainwashed by like they're trying to make me think something is not wrong. I'm saying that information is drilled into you, your chain of command and what all these acronyms stand for, and don't do that again. All this stuff. But the longer you're out, the more of that information just evaporates. And there's very little of that kind of stuff that I can remember.
I'm taking your keys. Okay.
I can't hear him. Hush. Go play in your room. You know, everyone reacts to things differently. Everyone takes things differently. I would be furious if someone tried to tell me that I wasn't a soldier. And it's not so much, oh, you think I'm lying. It's the Army meant a lot to me. and it was a huge part of my life. And I would be pissed and hurt and felt very disrespected for someone to diminish that part of my life. So him taking that as a joke and in stride that someone's saying he's not a real Marine is very unbelievable. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, you're not going to know a whole lot of other people's MOS codes, but you're going to know your own.
No.
I know 88 Mike and 93 Victor and all those things because I was around them a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Either I trained with them or I knew a bunch of people that had that specific MOS, or even I knew one person and it just stuck in my head. You're not going to know all the MOS codes. However, you are going to know your own. And if he can't say what his own was, and I think the Marines, I think the Marines have a longer code for their MOSs, because Josh was a Marine. He was a lightweight diesel mechanic or some shit like that. He worked on tanks, like as a mechanic. Armored vehicle mechanic, I don't know. His was like 4 or 5 digits, or 4 or 5 different, you know, whatever. And I always thought that was interesting. That was so much bigger than mine. But you're going to know your own. Camp Lejeune. I knew someone who went to Camp Lejeune, but I think he's right. He's a Marine. I'm not. I don't know shit about Marines. I knew someone, though, who was a Marine, and he went to Camp Lejeune. And I think where you go is based on where you are geographically. Like, for instance, this is a very good thing for the Army. The Army lets you pick what you want to do. Every other branch assigns you a job. The Army, after you take the ASVAB, they give you a bunch of different jobs that you're qualified for. Like, one of mine that I was qualified for was petroleum laboratory technician, which sounds great. And then I found out later it's like you work at the military gas station. Like,
it makes you sound like a big scientist, but really, you're just an ant.
I'm glad I didn't take. I wasn't going to take that anyway because that doesn't really do anything for me. But after you take the ASVAB, they give you a list of jobs that you qualify for, and then you get to pick. Now, they tell you that you get to pick where you go, and that's kind of true. They let you pick 3 CONUS, which is continental U.S. places you want to go to. So 3 places in the U.S. and 3 places outside of the U.S. that you can go to. Now, I thought I was being smart, and I picked the worst places that nobody wants to go to. I picked 2 horrible places and 1 great place, thinking, I was 17, so this made sense to me back then, that if I picked these horrible places, volunteer to go to these horrible places, that they'll send me to the good place. Like, I picked Korea, and I was like, if I say I'll go to Korea, then they'll send me to, I don't fucking know, wherever, like Italy or some shit. If I say that I'll go to this horrible CONUS place, and they'll send me to Sheffield Barracks, which is in Hawaii, they didn't. I went to Alabama, Missouri, Kentucky, Arizona, the country. I went to the country. They sent a Southern California girl to the country. I really
Mommy?
What?
I want to vote.
No. So, what's this company?
What is that?
That's the Black Rifle Coffee Company.
Oh.
We have Black Rifle Coffee.
We do?
Yeah, that's Matt Best's company. The movie you watched the other day. More than Matt Best created it, but Matt Best is the one you know.
Show me your VA card.
What did he just pull out? Oh, nothing. He pulled out nothing. remember being 29. We'll do one more. Top 10 stolen Valor moments.
Listen to the most is one of the videos where the dude's asking his friend, like, hey, do you still have your IDIOT? I was like, it took me a minute too. I was like, what? And then I was like, oh, I fell for it.
Over there. Get your shoes off my bed.
No, not until you sit down and calm down. Sit.
No,
Then you're not getting any.
And you're not getting eyes.
Just give him a little bit, please.
Sit down.
Okay, so he just asked what that guy's gunny's name is. Gunny is a nickname for a rank in the Marines called Gunnery Sergeant. So, I don't know if I've told you the story or not, but when I was in basic, where I went to basic, we had Air Force and Marines on post. The Marines were there for what we call AIT, job training. That's when I was dating Josh, who's a Marine. I went to go see him on Family Day, because I knew none of my family were going to come all the way to Missouri. So I went to go see Josh in the Marine barracks, which is not allowed. And I shouldn't have done that. But I went to go see Josh in my Class A's, which is, you know, the dress-up uniform, green jacket. And I was doing some not right stuff, like smoking and drinking, because I just spent all that time in basic and I needed to. Anyway, so I was hanging out with Josh and Lincoln and all his friends, and their gunnery sergeant came up, and I knew I was in trouble immediately because I shouldn't have been over there in the first place. But I did not, like I told you, in the Army we call all of our sergeants sergeant. And so when they all called him Gunny, I assumed he was gunnery sergeant, and I called him Gunny too, which is not cool. You don't do that. The Army does not call gunnery sergeants Gunny unless they're like friends. So this gunnery sergeant said something to me about why I'm over here and da-da, and I was like, I'm sorry, Gunny, and then like he got quiet. I was like, oh shit, I think I just fucked up. Eat that or I'm throwing it away. So he dropped me in my Class A's, which is very difficult to do because that Class A jacket is really snug, especially around the bust area, and I was a little bit bigger. You know, I'm big-chested. So I popped the top button on my Class A jacket. But it's difficult and it's not difficult, it's uncomfortable to push in Class A's. Over there. So he dropped me and then told me I had to go back to my area immediately. We called a cab and Josh escorted me back to my barracks. Anyway, that's my gunny story.
And he dropped you like he picked you up and dropped you?
No, that means do push-ups.
Ow.
I can rub.
Did you?
No, don't be gullible. His audio isn't matching his video. When a man walks up on you like that, you should immediately know it's not a good thing. Get over there.
Don't go to the one.
I swear that looks like one of the streets back home in El Cajon.
That would scare me if a big guy came out of nowhere.
Well, it's a federal crime now to steal valor, to pretend like you're a veteran or you're active duty. It's bad enough to be stealing valor, but you're wearing an ROTC patch with a uniform is just. I should make sure that I say junior ROTC, because ROTC and what you do is obviously the J is junior.
Yeah.
You people who are in ROTC, the actual adult big boy version.
Give me one.
No.
That's actually a thing. That's not just high school.
Yeah.
One more.
A cadet commander? Oh, God. Even though I like when people say thanking me, because I'm like, I don't take that personally. I take that up to like, I'll say you're welcome, as in I'm saying it for my mom, and I'll tell people that. If they'll ask me questions about it, I'll say no. I'll say thank you to you, or I'll appreciate it or whatever, because my mom used to be in the military. Because I just feel so weird and awkward when people.
Well, I don't agree with Senior Chief of you guys saying thank you when someone, or saying you're welcome when someone says thank you for your service, because you guys haven't served.
Yeah.
It's a class in high school. I think he should be teaching you the proper way is to say I'm not in the military. But that's just me.
Yeah.
I think
The Reserve and National Guard, or at least the National Guard, I don't know about the Reserves. I do know that the National Guard, you can wear your uniform and perform your job before you go to basic. So that is something that can happen. Active duty, you have to go to basic before you get your uniform in basic.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe the National Guard gets theirs before, because they have to work before they go to basic.
Yeah.
But this guy's just ate up. Like, look at the, oh my god. I'm wearing my older brother's military uniform because I feel like wearing it.
Can you imagine the disrespect you give to your sibling and your family if you did that?
Okay, so let's say his brother was in the military, currently or before. You're wearing your older brother's military-issued uniform because you have no clean clothes. That makes no sense to me, but whatever. He sounds like he might be a teeny bit special. So, you're stealing valor. You know you're stealing valor. And you go up to your neighbor's house, who's a veteran, and ask him for a cigarette. That he might, but based on how he's talking, he could be, a touch special.
Oh my god, this one.
Ah! I hate this one.
It's funny.
Everybody who pretends to be a ranger is with the 2nd Battalion Rangers. Here's the thing. What people who are guilty of stolen valor don't seem to get is that 90% of the time, the people who are asking you specific questions like that already know the answers. And they already know the answers because they are current or former military. So you should probably just walk away. That goes back to the other guy who had multiple combat badges. Combat campaign infantry badge. Oh no, that's the same guy. I can't see what that is. Those aren't what he's saying they are, but I can't actually see what it is. Because it's so dark and far away, but that's not it. Okay, this is the one we watched before.
Is this the one with the dog? Oh my god.
No. There are working dogs in the military. You can be issued a dog in the military. They're not going to be Chihuahuas at all. Dogs are used in many different aspects of the military, including there are actually a lot of animals that are used in the military, but not a Chihuahua. And there's no such thing as a combat dog.
Pants on. Mommy, I'm in the cabin.
It's legitimately a fucking Chihuahua.
That's cute.
Let's go over what's wrong with his uniform. Okay, so he's wearing a subdued, which is the dark colored, non-colored patch. A subdued flag patch where his rank is supposed to go. He's wearing the colored flag where nothing's supposed to go. Actually, if I can't see because the way it paused, but I think that's where his U.S. Army's supposed to go. But I can't really see the way it's paused. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 patches on his shoulder, which is just crazy. None on, okay, one side is a combat patch side. Okay, so he's got 5 patches on one shoulder and none on the other. His U.S. Army's on the wrong side. And I believe he's wearing a patch on his collar as well, which is, I mean on his lapel, which is 18 countries. He's wearing a patch. I just can't even explain what's wrong with this uniform.
My toy.
Oh, he does have patches on the other side, 2 of them.
I'm not playing my toy.
I want a canine. I didn't get a canine. Now, the thing he's wearing on his back is called a camelback.
Isn't that like a little water?
It's like the thing I have in there. It holds water on the inside.
Yeah.
Oh my god, look at all those patches! That thing right there. Oh, this is really bad pausing. Hold on. Anyway, the weird looking thing, that's for EOD. Bomb guys. Now, here's another thing. Those top 2 rows of patches are Army patches. The middle one are the third row is Army patches, but they're subdued. The bottom one is Air Force patches, okay? You see the difference between Air Force and Army patches? One, the Air Force, they're all shaped the same exact way, okay? The Air Force, because they're special, will wear camouflage uniforms with colored patches. We wear subdued patches so it blends in. Camouflage. He's wearing Army and Air Force patches. It is the American flag. So he got 1 patch when he enlisted and 1 patch when he deployed. 1 American flag patch when he enlisted and 1 American flag patch when he deployed. Not really how that goes. Now, I will say we couldn't wear the U.S. Army. We couldn't wear the U.S. Army on our uniform until we graduated from basic. Like I said, we couldn't wear our U.S. Army on our uniform until we graduated because it was a way of them saying you're not soldiers yet. But we didn't get a different American flag patch when we graduated. Or when we enlisted. That's a unit patch. That's not Sergeant First Class, that's a unit patch.
When I'm tipping up, I want to pick my toys. I want to take that boy.
Not supposed to wear civilian clothes as army clothes.
It's different.
That's right.
Military clothes. Even in school, if we let any other person wear any part of our uniform, or play with it, or anything, or if we wear regular shoes with our uniform, we will get either on probation, taken out, or we will get suspended from school.
Now, there are some small, stop. If you ever saw shoe profile, meaning something, you got some kind of injury or have some kind of medical condition, you can wear tennis shoes with your uniform. But that's it. Now, this Casual Friday thing, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. We never had Casual Friday. But there have been instances where we got to wear, there are times when you have to wear your Class A's or your Class B's or your BDUs, ACU, ICU, whatever. And PTs, you're told what uniform you have to wear. So everyone can be uniform. The word uniform versus the adjective, or anyway. But you can't mix military and civilian clothing. The only time you can is when you have a soft shoe profile and you can wear tennis shoes.
Another American flag.
Now that one on top is his rank, is a rank. It's not his rank, but I believe that's a sergeant. I can't really see. Yeah. Wait, is that 1, 2? If it's 2, then it's PV. If it's 2 chevrons, then it's PV2. If it's 3, then it's sergeant. But he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 American flags on his uniform. His rank. The rank is sergeant. Now, what did he say? Okay. There is something you wear if you jump out of a helicopter. It's a little thingy, little crest. It's a little helicopter with little wings, little angel wings. It means air assault. I hope you don't get American flag patches for doing things like bringing your buddies home safe from Iraq or jumping out of a helicopter. You're one of the fake assholes! I haven't actually used my ID for a discount yet.
You should do that. Okay, that sounds bad, but you know what I meant.
Mommy.
In fact, I think the only time I've gotten a military discount not from a restaurant that I frequented, you know, where I was a regular at, was at Logan's when,
That stuff happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not with you, when you got, the last time I went to Logan's. Because the last time I went was the Drinking Brothers thing. Before that, I was with someone who was who was also a veteran, and the bartender asked him if he was a veteran, and he was like, yeah, we both are, and she was like, oh, you both are, okay, and then gave us a military discount. First, I was a little pissed, because, like, what makes you assume that because he's a guy, he's the veteran? Like, that kind of pissed me off a little bit. And she came back, and she was like, well, thank you, sir, for your service. Oh, and you too, sweetie. And I was like, oh, bitch, women can be in the military, too, but whatever. Oh, yeah, he said he was a sergeant first class, remember?
No.
But the rank that he's wearing says is a sergeant. It doesn't say sergeant.
Stop. Sit.
Ow.
I can't hear.
Ooh. Ooh.
So that guy just asked him where he went to boot camp. The Army doesn't call it boot camp. We call it BCT, Basic Combat Training, or basic training. He said he went to Fort Gordon, Fort Jackson, Parris Island, and Fort Benning.
Yeah.
Now, you only go to basic once, unless you fail out.
Here.
Now, there is a thing called OSET, which is where you go to basic and AIT in the same unit, which is what I did before I reclassed and had to go to AIT somewhere else. But I went to Fort Leonard Wood for OSET MP training, meaning after I graduated from basic, I was still in the same unit for AIT. But you don't go to basic 4 times if you graduated. I don't know what the limit is because I didn't fail. But I know if you get recycled, restarted, have to do it again. I think there's a limit on how many times you can attempt basic before before they just say, fuck it. Obviously, you're not going to make it. But no one should have 4 places they went to basic training. By the way, Parris Island is not an Army installation. Okay, so that's what I was talking about earlier. He said he went to boot camp at Parris Island for the Marines, and then he went to Fort Benning, Fort Jackson, and Fort Gordon for the Army. if he had gone into the Marines and successfully completed their IET training, which is individual educational training, he finished training, he wouldn't, there's no way in hell he would have to go through Army Basic again after that. Unless there'd been a great period of time between the time he got out of the Marines and when he enlisted in the Army. So if it'd been 5-10 years, then he would have to go back through it again. That was not a couple days. That was not a couple days. Desert Storm was not a couple days. But he's right. We didn't have any issues in the 80s. When I was in high school is when Desert Storm, Desert Shield was going on. But it was not a couple days. In fact, we're going to see exactly how long it was. Operation Desert Storm. Desert Storm was 43 days. And Desert Shield, it seemed a hell of a lot longer back then. How long did...
My tree fell down. I want my tree tree.
Okay, maybe he's right. Seemed like a lot longer than 43 days.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh my god, I know it too.
Let's see. What's the Marine Corps' birthday? What is the Marine Corps' birthday?
Every time I try to think of that, I only think of Navy's.
November 10th, 1775.
Around there.
Com Missile Weapons Specialist.
Doesn't even sound like a thing. I'm not getting attention, so I don't know.
I don't know the Marine Corps' birthday. Army song just popped in my head.
Navy's is October 17th, 1775, something like that.
I don't know. Let's see.
I think, I'm not sure. I know it's in October, I know it's
Navy birthday. October 13th.
Oh,
It's almost next to yours.
I know.
Air Force birthday is...
I can't remember if it was like 2 days before or 2 days after my birthday. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go with 17. But at least I got the month and year right.
September 18th. I thought I heard somewhere that the Air Force had 2 different birthdays. And I can't remember if it was the Air Force. I thought it was the Navy. Yes.
Always
if you are outside, you have to have your headgear on. However, the only time you are inside with your cover on is if you're armed.
Yeah.
You don't have to have your cover on if you're outside underneath cover.
Yeah. So.
Every soldier is a freaking ranger, and every sailor is a SEAL.
Try to find 1, 2.
Okay, AR means Army regulation.
Bye.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. All these people who are calling out these stolen valor people, I commend them. I'm not saying they're bad for doing it. But they all know someone who was a ranger and a SEAL and a commando, TACP, whatever. I've known one person who tried to be a TACP. I know one ranger and one SEAL. And I didn't meet any of them while I was in the military. I met them all either before or after I was in the military. Now, I'm not saying that they're lying. I was never attached to any units that had them, and I never came across them because my jobs... Well, I'd met a couple rangers before, but none that I could tell you their name or anything. I'm not friends with them. I wouldn't know them again if I saw them. But they all seem to be buddy friends and family. They're, according to these people, there are a lot of fucking rangers.
Mommy, that's poop. That's poop. In the pocket? I got poop.
Go. It's not. It's not. He is going a little overboard. He needs to calm down a bit.
Mommy, I lost my bed.
Be straight. No, the right.
No cover.
Not
Tennis
right
shoes. What is up with everyone? Okay.
Are those ribbons?
Okay, so here's what's wrong with that uniform.
Oh my god.
He's wearing a flag in the same place that his rank is supposed to go, like the other guy. He's wearing ribbons with his ACUs, which is just, wow.
Aww.
His rank is where his patch should be. It looks like a sergeant rank. I can't really tell. He's wearing a U.S. Navy tab! His ribbons are where his name should be, and he's wearing a U.S. Navy tab on his Army uniform. Are those Crocs? Oh, no. Let me explain what profile means. Okay, I can't explain it the way
I need my backpack.
that would be extremely understandable, so let me give you an example. When I was in basic, I dislocated my shoulder. So I was on profile for push-ups and sit-ups because I couldn't use my shoulder. You understand kind of what profile means? It's for some medical reason, something you can't physically do. But there are other things, like there's a shaving profile. If you get those shave bumps, men, when they shave, then they get a shaving profile. They don't have to shave.
Yeah.
If you hurt your foot, then you can wear a soft shoe, soft shoe, meaning tennis shoes for soft shoe profile. But other than the soft shoe profile and the shaving profile, I can't think of any profile that inhibits you from doing something other than physical activity. But low profile, I guess he's trying to say he's like some kind of operator. Oh, low profile means something he can't tell people what he does.
What the fuck? What the fuck? What the hell?
Okay, so this ribbon right here, the rainbow one, is called the Army Service Ribbon. You get that in basic. Everybody will have that ribbon. You get that when you go through basic. In fact, no, because I took that picture before. That picture of me and my Class A's, we took that, I think we took that in, no, we took it after I think it was like during red phase, so the first 3 weeks of basic. Now, to defend myself in that picture, that's not a uniform. That's kind of like senior pictures. You know, everybody wears the same black dress?
Yeah.
It's just the top part of the uniform, and we just put our name tags on it. So that's not my uniform. That's why it doesn't fit right.
Yeah, your face looks a little tubby in it. Like, your face, you look like you're trying not to smile, and you're like...
I was trying not to smile, and I'll tell you exactly why. There's this guy in my basic unit. His name was Antonio Benedito. He was, I think he was like from Brooklyn or the Bronx or some shit. Anyway, he had one of those go to jail or go into the army type things. And he was always making me laugh. Constantly. I was getting in trouble all the damn time. And he was making me laugh in that picture. He was saying that I looked weird and my head was shaped weird and whatever. So I was laughing. Okay, so you'll get taught and trained and drilled into your head that there are certain things you can and cannot say if you get taken as a prisoner of war.
Okay.
Your name, your serial number, which is your social, or the last 4. Your rank, your unit. Okay? That's not an army t-shirt. That is a t-shirt from an apparel company called Grunt Style. It's a veteran-owned clothing company. So if he was in the military for 5 total years and he was deployed for 4 complete consecutive years, he spent 4 straight years in Iran. I can't watch that one anymore because I think there might actually be something wrong with him. Okay, well, that was me reacting to Stolen Valor videos. None of them were in any way convincing. Stop! There was one that I think we should do a different time, of a woman, claiming to be an officer going into a recruiting office. We'll do that one.
Oh my god, I know that one. Oh my god.
So this is gonna be my first original content video for my YouTube channel. It's my daughter. So yeah, my veteran reacts to Stolen Valor. It's mind-boggling what people are trying to get away with. The worst one was, okay, it's tied. The worst 3 aspects were the guy with the Army uniform wearing the Navy tab, and the ribbons on the ACUs. That was. Oh no! Oh, the 15,000 patches and
Chihuahua
flags, and the standard issued canine dog, which was just a fat ass Chihuahua
Who
on
smells?
a leash.
Who just? You couldn't even. Oh my gosh.
It's amazing to me that these people honestly think that those things are going to get by, that anyone's going to actually believe them. But anyway, so yeah, my first original content YouTube video. Look at me, I'm going to be a creator one day. Watch. Oh, I'll be like Angry Cop or Donut Operator. What?
Dude, don't hit me!